Co-founder Jerry Yang is resigning from the board, also leaving the boards of Yahoo Japan and Alibaba Group. Yahoo named a new CEO early this month. Is there more management shuffle to come at the troubled internet company? Bill George is a professor at Harvard Business School, the former Medtronic chairman and CEO. Jeff Sonnenfeld, the senior associate dean at Yale School of Management and a CNBC contributor. Gentlemen, good morning once again. Good to see you.
Nice to be back, Carl.
Want to read you a comment from Evercore, Bill. We surmise his departure is more of a pound of flesh for the board's failure to consummate a deal to date, more than a green light on a prospective deal imminent to occur. Are they trying to make good for some past mistakes here?
I think it's a lot bigger than that. Jerry had the founder syndrome. Unlike Bill Gates, he just couldn't move on when he needed to, and he was stood in the way as a roadblock to the Microsoft offer of $50 billion back in 2008, 4 years ago, Carl. And I think this is a company that's in deep, deep trouble. They've missed the technology curve. They aren't likely to come back, and I think it's just a question of restructuring the assets right now, and it's going to be a very painful process to try to capture some of the value that's left in the place. But the battle has shifted over to Google versus Facebook right now, and Yahoo is just kind of a melting ice cube. I like that analogy.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, does it at least let Scott Thompson do what he has to do without this anchor around his ankle?
Yeah, it's hugely helpful. There's a category, as Bill referred to, the founder syndrome. There's a group that I've called the monarchs that don't leave office, like Rupert Murdoch, until, you know, there's a palace revolt or sadly they die in office. There's another group like Steve Jobs or case Michael Dell or Howard Schultz, of course, at Starbucks and at Dell and things, where they do a great job coming back in. However, sometimes they can have a shadowing presence that inhibits a successor, and that's the case here. We've seen it happen at Digital Equipment. We've seen it happen at Polaroid, and he needs clear sailing. So it's not just pound of flesh. They really need a chance to not second guess. And it's sad because there are no villains here. Jerry Yang is an awfully talented guy. It's a shame he's not Steve Jobs. It's a shame he's not Howard Schultz. Shame he's not Michael Dell, but he couldn't pull it off. They missed great opportunities. And for Thompson to be able to figure out what the heck this company is. Is it a media company? Is it a technology company? Is it an aggregator and things? He needs clear sailing without being second guessed, let alone deal with the Alibaba, you know, $14 billion opportunity.
Bill, it's interesting, you know, you say some of this is typical of founders that can't let go of their babies. Other founders get criticized for wanting to sell too quickly, right, to cash out. It's really hard to find that perfect moment in which to leave, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's important to find a successor, and you have to give Jobs credit. He did find one in Tim Cook, maybe under 4 circumstances. And Gates has moved on. Earl Bakken, as founder of Medtronic, moved on and left the board in '94, but never got in the way of anything we did. But I think the difference really with Jobs and Schultz is they've stayed ahead of the curve. They're ahead of the curve in what the marketplace wants, what the technology can deliver, whereas Yang and Yahoo have fallen further and further behind. They've kind of ignored the mobile market. And I just think that once in the tech world that's moving so fast, we're not in a marathon, we're in a sprint. And if you don't keep up and you don't have the leadership to do it, Carl, it's not going to work.
I wouldn't give up this company for dead yet, though, Bill, and I don't think you would either. It's still got $600 million of cash and 750 million viewers. I mean, there's a great name. They just have to figure out that strategy and get rid of the dysfunctional board paralysis.
Yes, and restructure the assets, Jeff, at the same time.
Yeah, well, deal with the Asian assets especially, yes.
I think David Faber may have a question.
Yeah, well, you and I, Sonnenfeld, we disagreed about whether Hewlett-Packard had a dysfunctional board, but I guess you agree that this one is dysfunctional or has been. It's still got the same chairman, Roy Bostock. You know, my sense is he's got to go as well in the not-too-distant future.
Well,
I think... Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, I think that some people have mentioned Bostock, I think, was trying to appease Jerry Yang. Bostock is a great guy. He's been through some difficult boards at Northwest Airlines. I believe he was at Morgan Stanley, difficult time. And yet, sadly, he's tarred by this. Arthur Kern is a great board member who ought to stay. Vijay Joshi at HP has sometimes been put on the exit list. He runs the printer business for HP. He's done a magnificent job. There are a lot of good people on this board. I think they've learned their lessons. And for Jerry to step down, it would do a lot of good.
You know,
Bill, David, I was going to say, I think at this stage, these two boards, HP and Yahoo, would have a good contest for worst board of the decade.
But you know,
the board did turn down Microsoft.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you. By the way, speaking of boards, you're on a few, including one called Goldman Sachs. Bill, while we've got you here, just listen to the call. Vinny just wrapped it up, the CFO. You know, is the board happy with management? It was a difficult year for Goldman Sachs last year.
The board's very happy with management, and I think David and Lloyd will give you the whole story if they haven't already done so.
You know, a lot of talk on the call, though, as well, Bill, about whether we're seeing a cyclical or secular change when it comes to some of the markets Goldman operates in. Are those conversations that take place at the board level as well?
Of course. These are things you discuss all the time. Goldman, the board and management is always very close to the market and very much up to speed on what's going on. And I think we're seeing changes, but I think you're going to see tremendous needs for financing coming forward in the global market. So I'm very bullish on the sector, unlike what's happened in the last several years.
All right, Carl.
Jeff, you know, Jack Welch famously said you want to be in businesses where you're either number one or number two. The Yahoo example shows that being number three is almost fatal. I just wonder if you think that's a change or not.
I think they can certainly find their opportunities, as that Google is in an increasingly widened portfolio of businesses, and yet people can still explain what Google is. It's very hard to explain what Yahoo is. They can take that on. Is that in a global battlefield, often you can see three do very well, and not just you know, a troika in autos, a troika in telecom. You can actually see three compete pretty well globally, but they've got to clarify that strategy. You've got a very confused situation with Jack Ma of Alibaba. That was a wonderful opportunity. Social networking, it's a lost opportunity. Who would have thought that Microsoft would be doing so well in search? Of course, with Yahoo's assistance, is that Yahoo has to really regain some of this ground. And Bill is right that this board does have to be taken to task for having basically lost half the value of the company that Microsoft would have paid for them. That deal should have happened, and that's a tragedy, and you've got to lay it at the feet of the board for acquiescing to Jerry Yang, who basically wanted to pull off an independent recovery, like a Steve Jobs, like a Michael Dell, and it just couldn't figure out what that was, and it's tragic.
Hang on, Jeff. You know, this is hindsight is 2020. Was it not possible that at that point the guy could have done that?
Simon, let me just say,
who would have thought that Apple could have come back? Yeah. You know, it was $9 a share when Steve came in.
Let me just jump in here. I think when you lose that technology curve, you're in trouble, and you either have to change it to your own way like Steve Jobs did at Apple. It's very hard to get caught up. People are moving fast, and when you're moving away from it, coming back in a sprint is really hard, and I think it's that we've seen that in RIM, we've seen it in Kodak, we've seen it in other companies. They just lose the touch, and so that's why technology is everything in this field.
You can reinvent the business, and this is, of course, what the great economist Schumpeter missed, is that you can reinvent and re-enliven a great business. And this is, of course, Anne Mulcahy saved Xerox, and of course, they're on a great path now with their current CEO. But it could have gone the way of Kodak, and you can see how PepsiCo under Indra Nooyi is going through a tremendous transformation right now, and it just takes a little while for all this to work, but you can reinvent the business, and as Pepsi's done, of course, in its globalization and its nutritional advances and its innovation, and the market has to understand as you go through the transition that there's just a little catch-up time.
Yeah, it's like getting caught in a riptide. Guys, appreciate your time.
Good, thank you.
Always fun. Bill George, Jeff Sonnenfeld.